Welcome to QSR Nation, your weekly dose of food service marketing tips and business strategies for success. Here's your hosts, Josh Anderson, Beth Oots, and Anthony Pierce from the PFSbrands National Headquarters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to QSR Nation. As always, we have Josh, Beth, and Tony from the PFSbrands National Headquarters in Holt Summit, Missouri to talk about food service marketing and business strategies for success. I have that memorized now.
That's awesome.
Today, we're really excited to welcome Jeremy Galloway. He's the Quality and Product Development Manager here at PFSbrands. And last week, we just really announced that our Blue Taco program's coming out in 2018, and Jeremy's one of the main cogs behind that. So Jeremy, welcome, of course.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you want to tell us a little about your background and how you came to PFSbrands?
Yeah. So I've really been in food service since I was 16. My first official job was working in fast food at A&W Restaurant. Kind of did that all through high school. I went to school for hospitality and restaurant. I've been in front of the house and back of the house. Worked in country clubs. So I've kind of grown up in the food service side of things. I've been here for a little over 10 years now, so just all different roles. I've kind of touched a lot of different things. Started out in the field, so I can appreciate what our business advisors are doing now. That's what I started out doing, and then kind of came in internally as we continued to grow. You know, Sean said that he's been doing this since 1998. You know, I was 10 years behind that, 2007, but 9 years, I guess. But I can appreciate what our business advisors are doing out there as we continue to grow. We needed somebody to kind of take the reins on our internal product and communicating with those manufacturers and suppliers of our product. So,
gotcha. So what's your role here now that you're specifically here? You kind of went on that, but
yeah. So I really wear the hat of everything from when we have an idea on a product, the development of that product, all the way through the production to then ensuring that the quality of that product and for us multiple lines of products meets our internal specifications. So everything from that development all the way through perpetuity on ensuring that what we get is what we expect. So that goes through the initial product development, either working in my test kitchen, developing those. And working with our manufacturing partners to get the right product, all the way through testing the product as it comes in, and kind of ongoing there. So,
well, you mentioned the continuing testing of products, and with the number of locations we have and the continuing growth that our company continues to see. I mean, obviously, the consistency of what is being turned out to those retailers and franchisees are very, very important. But I mean, how do you guys maintain that control of the consistency with the volume that gets pushed through? I mean, there's got to be a lot of variable situations that come up.
Yeah, so consistency is our number one thing that we try to hit on. Obviously, we want to put out the best product, but if it's good one time and not good another, it doesn't do anybody any good. Us, our retailers, and it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. No pun intended for our consumers as well. So consistency is first and foremost. A lot of people don't realize that in the food industry and food manufacturing world, it seems simple, but when you're dealing with agricultural products, there's a lot of variation that can happen. And then you throw in multiple steps to get it through not only the manufacturing, but distribution, at retail level, cooking the product. There can be a lot of variation in product. So it's our job to really come up with, what is that acceptable amount of variation? We consider those limits is kind of what we call them. So what is acceptable? What is going to be acceptable at any given point? And then our job is to make sure that all of that product always falls within those acceptable limits. So, we kind of go multiple steps, and a lot of what we do on the quality side is really before the product is ever produced. We have to make sure that, one, the product that we're going for actually fits in what we're trying to do and what our capabilities are. But then we are also finding the right manufacturing partners to produce that product under those same capabilities. So we want to make sure that we're partnering with the right person and not stepping them too far outside of their box just because we want something. So it's done before that product ever is even produced. So we'll go through multiple steps. So we'll discuss capabilities with that manufacturer. We'll actually communicate our specification because we know what we're looking for. We'll communicate that specification to that manufacturer, and then we'll go through multiple rounds of samples with that supplier. Once we kind of get past to, okay, we think this is a good R&D product, then we make sure that all of the other things are correct. So make sure pricing and volume, make sure we all agree upon that. And then we go through the supplier approval process. And this is an important part of the process, not only for us to ensure the consistency, but in this day and age, regulatory has become pretty front and foremost with FDA regulations, Food Safety Modernization Act. We really have to focus in on those things. So we go through a supplier approval process, and there's a lot there on the purchasing side, but on the quality side, it's multiple levels of documentation. So general supplier questionnaire, letter of guarantee, HACCP and food safety and quality systems from our supplier, certificates of insurance, product recall process, animal welfare, allergen program, general code of conduct. That's just part of them.
Crazy.
It's amazing, but what that does is it gives us a level of comfort that, okay, this supplier can live up to what we want, not only on the quality, but really on the safety side as well. So,
well, and that's so important, especially these day and age. We have so much access to to find out so much on the internet. To know that there's companies are taking all the precautions necessary, not just to put out a consistently quality product, but a consistently safe product, and that there are processes and checks and balances and everything is being adhered to. So that you've got, as a consumer, when you walk in, you don't have to think about that stuff. You just know, I can trust this. It's going to taste good. I'm going to enjoy it, and it's going to be a great experience.
Yeah, for a long time, the food industry has kind of been the wild, wild west. And when you get to the size of us, but really it starts much smaller sized companies. The consumers want that level of confidence that what they're eating is going to be safe to consume. So there have been a lot of regulations put in place, but frankly, while they can be kind of burdensome on the paperwork side, the reality is most of them are there to ensure that what is being put into the marketplace is a safe product. So
for sure. What's like a time frame for this entire process?
So it really depends. As Sean mentioned last week, with the rollout of the Blue Taco program, I was part of the committee. It really, that whole process was about 12 months. We actually kind of started bantering at about really 12 months even before that. But if it's just a normal product that fits within our current structure of what we're trying to do, whether it be with the Champs Chicken program, we're really looking at trending and ideas. We like to be 18 to 24 months out. So we're trying to look at upcoming trends, what we think not only our retailers want and are capable of doing, but also what our consumers want. So it really starts with that trending data, and we're on about a 1 to 2 year schedule. Once we really start getting into the weeds of testing products, you're still at least looking 12 months before release.
Trying to read some really distant trends.
Yeah.
You're not always going to be right,
Yeah.
but the hope is you can pick up on it early enough and you'll hit some.
Well, I tell you, with that type of time commitment and everything as well, I know that we've tested a lot of things that have never come to fruition, in the demo kitchen and stuff, and sometimes there's things that, you get down that pathways and you decide that maybe it's, when do you guys look at this and say, hey, you know what, maybe this isn't the right fit for profitability reasons for the retailers, or maybe it's just the trending data has shifted and you get a little bit more insight to what the consumer's looking for, so you ban it? Do you guys have like a timetable when you kind of make a decision that, okay, this is going to be what we're going to move forward with? Or?
It's the timetable is fluid. I tell people most of what I do is a failure. We've been through 70 plus variations of our macaroni and cheese. That hasn't hit the market. It's just what we've done internally to try to get to the best product that we have. So, if we're at, call it version 70, the other 69 have failed. So most of what I do is a failure, and you're hoping that you can get that product to that point where where you have buy-in with everybody, and it really starts internally. We have a new product committee that not only is there to suggest, but also determine next steps with products. They're the what I would call the main line of approval that we have. Once it passes me and my team, then we present it to our group, and our group is made of both internal folks and some of our sales staff. So they're really in tune with what our retailers and consumers want as well. So it's got to pass all that, and then hopefully we're still on trend. With what we had shot for, but the reality is most of what we do is fail. So the hope is that when you're looking 18 to 24 months out, you've given yourself enough time to still go at that and launch that within that time frame.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what are some of the steps that you have taken just to ensure the consistency of our brand and every product that we do offer out there?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about a lot of the things that we do up front, before that product is really ever produced. Once that product is approved, produced, we have it into normal distribution, we have specific steps that we go through for every product. And so once a product starts to being produced, we actually set it up in our auditing system. With that auditing system, we actually evaluate each product with each supplier. A lot of people don't know, we actually have multiple suppliers on most of our, I will say all of our key items. It's
Always need a backup.
Yeah, we always need a backup, but then also just to kind of help spread that out for contingency plans, things like that. So we give each product by supplier a score, and we actually score that based off of 4 criteria. We look at brand risk, so really how important is it to our brand that this product be right? Can we go without this product for a short period of time? Things like chicken tenders are much higher on that list than some of the other items, which might not be as critical to the program as a whole. So we look at brand risk. We look at overall food safety risk. So we kind of evaluate not only the product but our suppliers' processes. We look at variance potential, and really what that means is how hard is that product to produce. We have specifications where our limits have to be met. If that's a tough product to produce, we have a higher variance potential, and so we need to keep an eye on it a little more. And then the last one we actually look at is history of the product. So product non-conformance history. How have we done in the past with this? So we actually score each of those, and that gives us an overall score that we kind of determine as an audit multiplier. So that score will determine what percentage of every load of product that we come in, we're actually going to pull a sample off of. And from that sample, we actually start gathering data. Really, the process is multifaceted. The goal is to gather trending data on the product. I talked about how there's multiple variations that can happen in any product. So we want to ensure that, all right, well, when you look at a product one time, that just gives you a snapshot. But when you look at trending data and you've audited this product multiple times over 6 months, do we start to see a trend, and we can get out in front of it if we need to correct something with the supplier? And then the other part is to hopefully if there is an issue, we can catch it before it ever leaves our door. So it never hits the field, it never hits our market, and that's something we have to deal with. And really it's to give us just overall better visibility on our product, make everybody, both internally, our retailers and our consumers, more comfortable that we're doing everything we can to give them that consistent product. So in those audits, they cover everything from food safety, to the quality, are products meeting the specifications, to things like net and gross weight on cases. We want to ensure that what we're telling our retailers they're purchasing, they're actually getting. And then during that auditing process, we not only cover, does this product meet specification, but we actually go through the cooking process, what our retailers are going to do so that we can take it through that entire process and make sure that we're delivering the product that we say that we're going to deliver. So the last piece of that, product after it's been produced and in production, we also require on every lot what's called C of A's, or Certificate of Analysis. And so each item we identify what information we want from the supplier that they've taken actually in line, so per lot, so that we can get a picture of that product before it ever comes to our door. And so that can be things like what was the average weight on that production of chicken tenders, Or, okay, well, some things that have a food safety criteria for pH on sauces, we want to know that they're testing and what did that pH, come in at before it ever hits our door, and that way we can kind of gauge what kind of product we're going to be getting before we ever even have to audit it.
Well, we talk a lot on our podcast here about consistency, and to know that consistency is key in running executing your business plan on a daily basis, but you guys are making sure that that's taken care of on the consistency side of the products that they're getting. Sounds like from, like you said, if there was an issue, hopefully catch it even before it even heads out to ever hit a retailer establishment. The big thing I think that take away here is the fact that as Blue Taco launches in 2018, all of this deep, in-depth analyzation and the trend for the market data, so the retailers can feel confident in the product, but also the consistency, the trial and error, all the different recipes, the different variations, and all of the safety and quality control checks. All those things, all that time, energy, and investment has all been made to really ensure that not only is the Champs program or Cooper's program, a great success, but that Blue Taco is set up for a strong launch for 2018.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to do just an in-depth dive on what we wanted here. We were really starting with a blank slate, but we ran through the same processes. Our processes. When you work in quality, you have to be a very procedural, processes and procedures type mentality to ensure that your testing day in, day out is accurate. I always say the numbers are the numbers. We can spin things however we want, but our data is going to ultimately tell us what the product is like. So we ran through all those same processes with Blue Taco, and we'll continue to do it as we roll it out and push it out. We're listening to that market feedback, that consumer feedback. Absolutely.
I do have a random question for you. Since how do you even go about budgeting how much auditing you're going to do throughout the year?
That's tricky.
Yeah. Look at the history of the previous years.
Yeah. So really, what we do is I work with our purchasing manager on what we think our forecasts are. He does a really good job. John does a really good job of forecasting. That not only tells us what we think we're going to bring in, but also gives our suppliers. Our suppliers constantly tell us we give them some of the best feedback and most information out of any other customers they deal with. And that's because we want to make sure that they know the exact same things we do. So I work with John on trying to determine what we think we're going to get in for as of right now for 2018. Yeah. And then we kind of take those numbers and start applying these metrics, these scores to, okay, what is this product? And then that determines our percentage that we'll pull off. So it's a just like any budgeting process. It's part feel, part numbers, part okay. Here's where we think we're going with this, but if we have a breakout year, those numbers are probably going to be low. Yeah. So it's a tough process, but we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on it. So.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, we really appreciate you coming in here and talking to us about all of the quality insurance stuff that you do. And we'd love to continue this conversation. We have a lot more questions for you. So if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to have you come back next week. And if any of our listeners right now have any questions for us or for Jeremy, please feel free to email us at mdf@pfsbrands.com. But until then, we will definitely like to have you back next week.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Sure. And anything else to add until next week? No,
I'm going to save it for next week. I'm ready to talk.
Oh, man.
I know I was quiet this one.
Really? That's strange.
I think I was. We'll find out when I listen to it.
Okay, everybody. Until next week, we'll talk to you again.
Stop by next week for another QSR Nation episode or visit pfsbrands.com.